Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Well, shit, Craig.
Second half champs. Second half champs. Second half champs.
Yeah, we'll hold on to that one. You know, I mean, for a while there, we were kind of getting a little stressed out because they were non-competitive by halftime, and then really just kind of, just kind of faded away in the second half. Didn't really fight tonight. That was, they had a lot of fight there in the second half. That's more.
Oh, yeah.
That's more like what we've gotten used to from Kyle Smith's teams.
Well, and I'm speaking of the men's team as well as the women's team.
Yeah, and the women's
for second
team,
half chance tonight. Yeah. And for some reason, my input. I'm sorry if my input volume's going crazy. I'm looking at the the meter on my settings, and every time I pull it back down, it inches back forward. So sorry, everyone, if you're getting blasted right now. I have no control over it. I don't know why.
That's what the editing's for.
My MacBook is screaming at you.
That's where I get to change the volume levels on the editing afterward. We'll fix it.
So hopefully Jeff remembers to do that so you guys don't lose your eardrums. But this is Podcast versus Everyone. I'm Craig Powers. With me, this is episode 110. And
110.
with me for 110 consecutive episodes is Jeff Newser.
Yeah, that's me.
Still licking our wounds from a couple of blowout basketball losses here, or tough basketball losses. I wouldn't say the men's game was necessarily a blowout, but
I don't know. I mean, they gave up a 20-0 run in the first half. I mean, and
I'm pretty sure
the game right there.
Pretty sure the women had a similar run they gave up. So
oh my God, theirs might have been even worse. I don't know. I'm gonna look real quick, but that
I know it was 15-9 at one point, and then I think it was like.
Did they even score in the second?
It was
quarter?
like 39. They did at the end. They scored.
Oh, they
9.
did at
they
the
ended
end.
up they scored 9 points in the second quarter, but like it took a while. Like I think they ended up. It was 15-9, and then at some point I think it was like 39-9 or something like that. So
Stanford had a 20 opened the second quarter on a 20-2 run.
Yeah, and then they actually had a run.
They carried over from the
first quarter.
So it was 24-2 carried over from the first quarter.
And that was all she wrote for that one. And
such a bummer.
Yeah,
they did get it down to 13 with about 3.5 minutes to go, which was cool. It's like, okay,
they actually got to 13.
Get it under double digits.
They got to 13 in the third quarter. Like, so they went from 30 down to 13 at one point, and then Stanford put it back up, and then Stanford hit a bunch of threes. But we'll talk about the women. Yeah. Let's talk about the. We'll talk about the men first. We'll talk about the women second. That doesn't mean anything. That's just how we're always going to do things. Probably because we're just doing by popularity of the teams. Let's be honest. So the Coug game. You know, about a half an hour before, we got the bummer news that Isaac Bonton was out with the flu. So, I mean, flu cases are severely down this year because everyone is covering their faces and washing their hands all the time and not seeing each other. So I guess the only way you actually get the flu is if you play for a basketball team and you're still around a bunch of people all the time. So
no, I'm like, how are you going to catch the flu and not catch COVID? Like, how is that possible?
Yeah,
I understand they're two different viruses, but I'm just saying, like, if you're in close enough proximity to people to get the flu, you know, I would think that would mean you're probably in close enough proximity to find someone who's got COVID too. But you know, whatever. It sucks, man. Noah Williams apparently has it because he was puking at halftime. That's why he didn't start the second half. So,
great.
TJ Bamba started the second half, and I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what's going on here. And then I could see on the bench Noah had like 3 towels like wrapped around his shoulders and his head. And I'm like, oh, man, did he get hurt? And eventually he came in and played
32 minutes.
Yeah, played reasonably well in the second half. But apparently that was the deal. He was vomiting at halftime. So, yeah, this team's had some hard luck. I mean, they haven't played well. There's no doubt about that, but man, they've kind of had some really shitty luck to go with it too, between COVID cases and injuries and.
I mean, they haven't had their full team for a while, because even Rapp was back for the last game, but he checked in, like Warren checked in before him, which it's very clear that Rapp is above Warren on the depth chart. But
for good reason.
And for good reason. I think that was pretty evident tonight, that you could see some things that Rapp can do defensively and offensively that Warren isn't entirely capable of. So overall, the offense like really, really struggled in the first half to get going. Noah hit a couple threes, and then they didn't do a whole lot for a while. And then of course, they gave up 1.1 3 points per possession. But and then Colorado only ended up hitting 10 of 17 from three. But in the first half, they were 7 of 8. And that's really what put the game sort of out of reach, was that first half, like 7 of 8, 3 barrage. It's like, can't you just make 3 or 4 of those like a normal team, or like how you would normally shoot? But no, you got to make every goddamn one. And then they ended up, I think they made 8 of 9 until they missed another one. And then lo and behold, once they start missing a few outside shots, WSU's offense, looks a little better. Defense looks a little better, except for, of course, that free throw line. What are we gonna do? Like, how? I always wonder, like, how do all these other guards drive the lane and draw fouls? Bonton drives the lane, seems to absorb the same amount of contact, never gets a foul. Is he just doing something wrong? Because you look at like McKinley Wright, who is, I mean, he's a better player than Bonton, obviously, but better at going to the rim, especially. But he just seems to get the calls when he needs them. Like, he drives the lane, and I don't know, it doesn't look like he takes that much contact, but he gets a call. Or, maybe he's just very good at selling it. We saw one of our readers, Ollie on Twitter, mention that WSU needs a screaming when they drive the lane for a rim coach, because Colorado seemed to have that down, just yelling and screaming whenever they drew any sort of contact in the lane. And of course, they're insanely good free throw shooters as a team, which is just, I've never seen a team like that, just so across the board shoot free throws well.
Yeah, I mean, look, we obviously know that drawing fouls is a skill. It's not just a matter of luck. It's not just a matter of being in the lane. It's, if James Harden has taught us anything in our lifetime, it's that, you can literally craft a skill of drawing fouls. It's not just a matter of being athletic or, being in the right position or a friendly whistle or whatever. I mean, it's legitimately, you can put yourself in position to make sure that when there is contact, there is a foul called. And, I think so. When I watch a team like Colorado, they mentioned the broadcast in general was fairly full of inanity, but the one point that they made that is like a legit good point is Colorado is super veteran. Like, I mean, these are like, really experienced
4th and 5th year guys.
Yeah, really experienced, good college basketball players, not just experienced guys. Because, we've had some experienced teams over the years led by Ernie Kent, and that didn't make a lot of difference, right? So, this is an experienced team full of good players. I mean, you mentioned Jariah Horn coming off the bench. He's their 6th man. I mean, he'd be starting for just about anybody else. He'd probably, if he was playing for us, he'd be our number. He'd be like option 1A in the offense next, or 1B next to Bonton, right?
Well,
like, that's how good he is.
Their freshman Jabari Walker, the 6'8", like super athletic dude. When he comes off the bench, they tell him to shoot, and they're obviously limiting his minutes, but he played 10 minutes, and it felt like he played more. And he didn't play much in Pullman either. And it just feels like they just have these guys, like when Horn first came off the bench, he hit this really tough turnaround fadeaway from 15 feet. And you're like, I don't think there's a single guy on our team that can hit that shot. And he's their sixth man off the bench.
Right.
And it's just like, I think the color commentator, I forget what his name is, but he said WC's play good defense, and he just turns around and hits that shot. He's like, well, not much you can do about that. Like, because really, that's what you want. You want guys shooting fadeaway 15-footers. You'll take that all day.
Yeah.
And
in college, you will for sure.
Yeah. This isn't. Yeah, we're not talking about LeBron James here, like
right.
Dirk Nowitzki type, or Luka
Exactly.
Doncic. That Colorado's just tough. Like, again, Colorado. The teams we've played recently, Colorado, UCLA, USC, just show to be successful, you need more than a couple guys. You need to have some depth to your ability to score, and that's how although we'll say Colorado did have a 5-minute stretch of without scoring today, but still they ended up at 1.13, and because they like Horn off the bench, Walker. They have Batty, who's just he shot a lot today, but sometimes he can be like a third or fourth option. But when he wants to go after it, like he can put the ball on the deck from the top of the key and take it all the way to the rack, and he's their 5. And Deshaun Schwartz, he was 2 of 5. Like, he's the one guy that you would expect to go 5 of 5 from 3 in a game, and then he goes 2 of 5. And it's not. And freaking Dallas Walton. He got the Cougs in the first game, and he barely had to do anything in this game, and so it's just like you make it tough on the other team by having so many guys to guard, and WSU just isn't there yet. We see guys have flashes, like Jackson has some good moments, but Jackson was still 3 of 10. It's not like he's finishing everything. He's making some. Like, he played a great game. He's looking very good in the post, but he's still not there in terms of finishing. Like, he's 3 of 10 when he's getting a lot of shots in the paint. Yeah, they're guarded, and he's very good at drawing fouls. But the 3 of 10 doesn't even count the ones he's missing when he's getting fouled. So it's like he's taking a lot of tough shots, but I would expect by the time he's a sophomore, junior, he's going to be finishing a lot more of those with a little bit more strength, even though he's already a very strong freshman. And same thing with we have guys on the way. Like, it's just we're just not there yet, and this year is very evident that we're not there because we saw Bamba today. Like, what did you say? What did you say on Twitter? I'll let you say it.
I was like, he's at some point in his career, he's going to be a 20-point per game scorer. Like, I feel confident about that. I mean, it's going to take some work with the jumper. I mean, it's hard to score 20 points if you don't hit
threes,
2 or 3 threes a game. We saw that with CJ, right? Like, you got to be able to hit some outside shots to score 20 points a game. But his ability already to get to the rim, the finishing is a little inconsistent at times. Like, he had one tonight where he had a couple where he finished great, like got in the rim. He had a nice little little lefty flip over a defender where he just kind of got him a little off balance, cut back to the middle, and finished with like almost kind of a little lefty finger roll, which he made it look real easy, and maybe the finish itself wasn't that tough, but the getting into the spot where the finish wasn't that tough was the hard part, and he did a great job with that. But then there was another one later where he kind of got into the lane and did kind of a double clutch thing when he kind of didn't need to, and ended up, blowing the layup. So, consistency's not there, and that's it, for everybody. I mean, he talked about Jackson, same deal. He's
Yakimovsky, man.
Yeah. Oh God, he is in such a slump right now. But you talked about Jackson, and he's, he went 3 of 10. You expect him, to go 5 of 10 in his career, 5 of 10, 6 of 10. Like, that's what you expect from him eventually, right? And he's just not quite there yet, but he is, drawing some fouls. Like, you see some positive things. FA had another real struggle game. Again, not a huge shock. He's trying to match up inside with, Evan Batty, which is, he's given up I don't know how many pounds he's given up, but it's got to be about 50.
40 to 50 pounds.
Well,
yeah.
Like it might be listed at 40 pounds. I don't think it's actually 40 pounds that he's given up. I think he's probably more like 50. So anyway, just, they're all just sort of figuring it out. And I think, the fouls getting called on them, a lot of them are just sort of, they're just ever so slightly out of position, right? And they're ever so slightly still just growing into their bodies, and they're ever so, and really it's these things on the margins, that lead to the, that lead to the foul calls and lead to the traveling turnovers and lead to the, all the stuff that's kind of, like they pile up during a game. And that's kind of where they're at. But, if we're taking positives away from tonight, my biggest one is, that they've gotten back to fighting. There were a few games there where they were kind of rolling over, and not that's, and I don't, I don't see that as some sort of like indictment on anybody. I'm like, there have been some people on our game threads that have been like, they just don't even look like they're trying. They're a bunch of quitters. And I'm just like, yo, like, okay. Now, yes, it's hard to watch, and I will completely grant people that, that it's tough to watch. And, it's when you see a team that is just so lost, it often kind of looks like a lack of effort. Right. And, so it was kind of a bummer to see that for a few games. But, the last couple games, they've gotten back to fighting. They've gotten back to scrapping. Even, they opened the last game against Colorado, getting up big and then, trying to hold on, but just couldn't score. And then this one, they went down big and they clawed their way back. I think they got within 6, in the second half, and, Colorado hit some more threes and couple of and ones and went to the free throw line approximately 78 times. And, that was that. I mean, Colorado scored more points from the free throw line in the second half than they did from the floor.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what you do with that.
I think WSU needs to get better at combining their halves here. Cause like, if you look at, the
sequencing, right?
The sequencing. So the second,
talk about sequencing.
So really, from the last 10 minutes, and then the last 30 minutes of last game, plus the next 20 minutes, so like a 50-minute span, they just got absolutely whooped by Colorado. Right. Like they like just obliterated. I mean, you could just say probably the first 10. So like of a 40-minute span, and it's weird to look at these games because it's so rare you play games back to back against the same team. But unless it's like, sometimes the rivalry games work out that way. But, so you're looking at, they lost by 7. So they lost the end of that 7, 10, 17, 25. And then they lost the first 10 minutes of this game. So they lost the last 30 by 25 in the last game. And they lost the first 10 of this game by 12. So they got over a 40-minute span, got outscored by Colorado by 37 points. Yeah. But then the rest of the time in those games, the other 40 minutes in those games, they're very competitive and played Colorado, roughly even, to the point actually outscored them. So it's like, they just are so prone to these stretches. And early in the season, when they were playing worse competition, it was always the offensive stretches. But now that they're playing better offensive teams, they can't hold the other team from scoring for 10 minutes too. And so like when you don't score, when you score like 2-4 points over 10 minutes, the other team now is going to score, at 10 or 15 at a minimum, even if you're playing good defense. So it's getting, that makes it tough. And so really, and it's, they had roughly the same game against Colorado as they did the first time without Bonton, with Bonton. You see Bamba have a really good game, and you see Jackson have a pretty solid game. It's hard to say, like if they have Bonton or those guys, obviously Bamba is probably not going to shoot as much. It's hard to say, how much it impacted. I think it would have been nice to have Bonton tonight because that first half might have started off a little better, and they might have hung in it a little longer while Colorado wanted to cool down from the outside, maybe. But I will say, yeah, some of the young guys that had to step in, like Bamba and Rapp and Jackson, who got more touches, were actually, solid. And it was really some of the starters like Yakumovsky and Abugidi that kind of let us down tonight. Because even Kuntz came off the bench and had some decent minutes. You never know with defense, but he was solid enough, and it was very interesting to see that they felt that Tony Miller did not match up against Colorado very well, and they felt that Vova did not match up, and those are kind of different ends of the spectrum for those guys, of why they don't match up against Colorado well. Hopefully, at some point, you have a roster where you don't have to worry about, this guy is matching up with those guys so much, Yep. And I have confidence that this coaching staff can build that roster given what they've done in, 2 recruiting classes. Yeah. But yeah, it sucks. We pretty much knew we were going to lose this game, right? So it's like, yep. It's nice to actually, it was looking like they're going to lose by 25 again. It's in the last game kind of felt like they lost by 25 because of how it ended. They start 25-9 or whatever, and then end up losing by 15 or 12 or 11, whatever it was. But yeah, so now they're on. Oh, and I guess we can go back to the Utah game. That game sucked. It seems so long ago now, even though it was only like a week ago. We have to talk
about that game.
Yeah, I don't. That sucked.
There's nothing to talk about in that game. It was terrible. That was a rollover game, which is those games that are super frustrating. So I don't know.
Utah did a very good job of making life difficult for Bonton and
God,
seeing if anyone else could beat them, and
Well, and then offensively, they just pick and rolled us to death. Yes. Like literally their 2-man game from all angles. They've got these, agile big men, and then, Timmy Allen, and it was just over and over and over and over. It was for people of a certain age, you might remember watching John Stockton and Karl Malone run the pick and roll, where it's
of course,
it's the simplest. It really is the most basic play. The most basic offensive play in basketball, and yet if it's run correctly, it's a fairly amazing play. And Utah had about like Stockton and Malone used to do. Utah had about 6 different ways that they ran that thing and attacked us, and we were just completely clueless. Which you get it's. Again, the youth, right? And I know that, Kyle Smith this week was like, we don't want to take the easy way out and blame youth. And it's yeah, but that's legit, that's legit. These guys are all seeing things they've never seen before. They're facing guys who, are stronger than they've ever seen before, ever played against before. FA definitely is experiencing that. He's just been, completely neutralized offensively for a while now. Which is kind of hard. He did have one ridiculous post move tonight where he was under the backboard and kind of flipped it up.
Just jumped up.
Just kind of jumped up and laid it in from under the backboard. But other than that, he jacked up a couple threes. And
he's really resorted to threes.
Going on. Yeah, he's really lost on the offense right now. And then, part of it is too, he's most of the time he's playing with, with Deshaun Jackson. So he's playing with another center. He's not really a center, and yet. Yeah. But the problem is he also doesn't really have the total stretch 4 skill set yet. He can hit a 3, but teams are aware right now that really his only weapon is a 3, and so he's not getting any of the open 3 looks that really the last time he had any open 3s was Stanford, I think.
Yeah, they're really not afraid of him blowing by.
No, and that's sort of the next evolution in his game, right? So if he's going to catch the ball around the 3-point line, he's got to be able to put, one dribble on the floor and go. Or he's got to be able to catch it at 15 feet and put, face up and put one dribble on the floor and go. And he has the athleticism to do that. I have no doubt that he can develop that. He doesn't have it yet. And, we've just got a lot of guys on this offense who aren't real assertive. Jackson's being assertive. Obviously, Bonton, when he's playing, is being assertive. Noah is kind of in between. Like he's definitely, there are times when he's assertive. I think also he picks and chooses his spots maybe a little bit more than I would prefer, I guess.
The big difference with his assertiveness from this year and last is that he's just a better jump shooter this year.
Yes.
And so he'll take more threes. And so
yes.
that I think that's where his shot percentage ticks up, because he doesn't seem to be, finding those, as you said, he ignored some seams that he maybe could have used to get to the basket a few times. He was 27% usage. He had 4 turnovers, so maybe he was cautious for a reason. Maybe just didn't feel confident.
And I'm also saying that now knowing that he probably has the flu. So, sorry.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I'm not.
Of course.
I'm not trying to rip on the kid
but I
all.
think it's a general thing. Like he has like bouts of assertiveness, and we see that often in second halves of games. So maybe that was what that flu neutralized him in the second half, so he can be his normal second half self. Still though, one thing that's great about Noah, he's still hitting those 3-pointers, man. Like if you would have told me he'd still be shooting over 40% from 3 at this point, he's at 48% from 3 still at this point in the season, on 56 attempts. I would have said you're a liar. Like he's 49, 40, 17 of 35 in Pac-12 play, third best 3-point percentage in Pac-12 play.
He's
Absolutely
got the 44th best 3-point percentage in Division I among qualifying players on KenPom. 44th nationally.
Like he's a legitimate 3-point threat, and it's nuts. Like, and he takes tough ones. He's been hitting tough ones too.
They're closing out on him. They're not letting him have wide open looks. Like he's hitting.
Yeah, at the start of the season,
awesome.
He definitely hit some where he had all day to think about it, because they're like, nope, that dude shot 11% or whatever from 3, like 15% from 3 last year. Let him do it. But now he's absolutely a threat out there. He's been our best 3-point shooter. You might think that like Bonton or Yakumovsky, you would think would be better from a pure shooting standpoint, but like Noah is just locked in from 3, and man, if that's something he can carry forward and have the rest of his career at WSU, that's something that gets him in the NBA. Like that's if he can hit threes, because that's something like we didn't see Kyle Weaver develop that until really like he was decent at threes his senior year, but he really had to develop it in the NBA, and that was mainly his role in the limited time he got to actually play in the NBA, was like he had to shoot threes, like otherwise he wasn't going to get on the floor. So it's nice to see Noah already developing that. You expect it to kind of only get, that's after one off season, so he can refine it, add more. So that's cool. And again, I'm gonna call out Rapp again. Like he's just, it was nice to see him like have a nicer game. He made some nice plays. We saw that he has a little more in the toolbox than maybe you thought before. So it's like so you see why he plays like more as much as he does, really. And he wasn't like super efficient, but he wasn't terrible either. Like we've seen players have way worse games than that. So and we definitely needed every bit of what he offered. So, and he took some, he just kind of asserted himself in a couple spots. So that's our word of the day, assertiveness, and made some nice plays when WSU needed one. And hopefully, maybe having assuming this is like just a 24-hour bug or something, we can have everyone back for Washington coming up, which, so. A week and a half ago, you would just think this was like a easy, no problem. Like WSU's clearly the better team, but it's not looking like that anymore.
How things change.
Thanks to UW sweeping the mountain schools at home while WSU was busy getting their asses whooped by the mountain schools. UW swept them. Largely, I'll say it's largely on the back of 3-point shooting. They hit 12 of 24 in both games, which is crazy. So they 12 of 25 in the first game against Colorado, and then 12 of 24 in the second game. So they went 24 of 49 from 3 over the weekend. That will always help. First off, that's always going to help. because just so that shooting, they shot well from the interior too. So just the ability to shoot is really what carried them in those games, because they didn't really play that well defensively, which that's kind of what Hopkins hangs his hat on, but like they didn't really play that well defensively. They just really shot well, and so that's something that kind of worries you. If they have the ability to shoot that well, a lot of teams have been doing that on WSU lately. So that's a bit worrying.
You got to think that the luck comes back around at some point.
Yeah, right.
And I think I think you and I are on the same page on this, that the 3-point defense early in the year was somewhat overstated based off of competition and maybe just facing teams that aren't really great shooters.
Yeah.
There were definitely open looks that got missed and whatever. So it wasn't like their 3-point defense was bad, but it also, we sort of know, statistically that 3-point defense, you don't have a ton of control over whether the ball goes in. As much as, a lot of people like to think that your 3-point defense is, predicated on certain things. And you might have a little bit of influence, with your closeouts and things like that. But as we saw tonight, there were a lot of really good closeouts, a lot of really tight 3-point shots, and Colorado was just, burying all of them. I mean, they made 8 of their first 9. I think at one point it was 10 of 15. They finished, I think, 10 of 17. So, only 10 of 17, 59% from 3. But, at one point they were 10 of 15. And it's just there's only so much you can do about that. So they just have had a really tough run of luck the other direction with some of the teams they've played that have just shot the lights out from 3, regardless of whether the shots are wide open. Right? NBA players miss wide open threes. People miss wide open threes, and it just doesn't really seem to be happening at a normal rate right now for us. And so here's to hoping there's some regression that takes place here at some point, because, man, it feels like ever since that UCLA game, everybody's just hitting everything against us. And that's a tough deal. They... there was a time in the game, I think I sort of tweeted out hey, if they were just shooting something normal, this is like a 5-point game. That's in the first half.
Yeah.
And then when it got up to 8 of 9, and we had actually closed it to close the gap to 6 points or 5 points or whatever it was, it's if they are shooting something normal,
even 5
or even
of
just
9.
even just slightly above average. Maybe they're just shooting 50% instead of, 80%, maybe, we would have been ahead. Right. So it'd be nice if some of that luck would kind of come back around. We could sure use it. We could sure use a lucky game to break out of this funk. And, maybe Washington suddenly thinks that they are a hot shooting 3-point team. I would love for them to keep jacking up threes this weekend.
Well, they are shooting threes at the second highest rate in Pac-12 play. So 41% of their shots have been 3-point shots. So they haven't up until this weekend, this last weekend, they weren't shooting them that well. But because they're even with going 24-49 over those 2 games, their conference overall stats over the whole conference, they're still only at 35%. So they weren't shooting that well. It's interesting. WSU and UW both, they're first and second in UW is first and WSU is second in the lowest percentage of 3-pointers allowed in Pac-12 play. So they're not teams that allow. I think some of that is the fact that both have been at times easier to score on inside.
Right.
Particular UW. UW's defense has been awful. Ernie Kent levels of awful. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, that's
they are giving up 1.15 points per possession, which would be worse than Colorado tonight. Better than Colorado tonight every night. So better than a team that hits 10 of 17 from 3 and shoots a billion and goes 20 of 23 from the free throw line. But that's every night.
Right.
So yeah, they do that. So it's funny. I mean, the Syracuse zone has always kind of been like that. They don't. It doesn't allow as many threes as your typical like 2-3 zone. But I think that's why it's so important that that zone needs a shot blocker down low. Because it stretches out farther than your typical zone.
Yep.
And so you need the big guy in the middle, and you need that kind of that sniper picking off the passes as well. And they don't really have either of those things. They do have Riley Sorn, but he doesn't play that much, and he is a good shot blocker. But again, he's not always on the floor. He's 7'4". If you're not a good shot blocker and you're that tall, then get out. Like I mean, like you should just like wake up and block a shot just with your head. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they don't have that guy jumping passing lanes as well as they've had in the past, and yeah, because they steal, but they don't like steal at above average rate, and they've just really struggled defensively on the inside. So what I'm really looking forward to is watching Deshaun and F.A. go after offensive rebounds, because we know those are always going to be an opportunity with Washington's defense, but they're especially bad at defensive rebounding this year. They are giving up almost 40% of their own misses. The other team is grabbing the ball. So like that's bad. That's very bad.
345th nationally in defensive rebounding percentage.
Which, you expect them to be bad. Like Syracuse was always bad at that. It's just part of running a zone. But they're just particularly this you don't have what was his name? For the big dude that they had last year that went to the NBA.
Totally Stewart. Yeah.
Stewart. Yeah, you don't, because he would at least clean up some boards, just from his athletic ability. But they just don't have that guy this year. That's just kind of cleaning things up and taking care of it. But yeah, I mean, they still have like Nate Roberts is a decent rebounder, but I think there's going to be opportunities for second chances. So, and another good thing is they don't force a lot of turnovers because they don't have that, they don't have the pressure guys that they've had in the past. But the frustrating thing is WC is probably still going to turn the ball over because that's just
what we do right now.
It's at this point. We've played teams that don't force turnovers like Utah, and they still turn the ball over a bunch. Like it's just what they do. Like it's frustrating. It'll be exceptionally frustrating against UW because if you can just get a shot on the rim, there's a 40% chance you can grab an offensive rebound.
There's a million good things that could happen if you just
so if you're shooting 30%, then the 70% of the time, you're missing. 40% of those times, you're just going to get the miss anyway and be able to put it back up. So just don't turn the ball over. Get a shot on the board. Let Deshaun and Vova and F.A. just attack the offensive glass. Please don't give the ball away stupidly. I know that we love doing it. It's just part of our DNA at this point. But just don't do it. Just don't do it. The middle is going to be open. I kind of wonder who we have to exploit that sort of that free throw line in that you can kind of exploit.
Noah.
Yeah. I guess he was the guy last year.
He's the guy. Yeah,
he was the guy last year.
Yep.
Yeah. He was the guy that did that last year. So hopefully hopefully he's got the runs are done and he can, he's good to go because we know that he absolutely loves playing UW.
One thing I saw, I did watch some of their game against Utah. They actually ran quite a bit of man-to-man in that game.
Really?
Yeah. So I remember last year they ran some man-to-man against us when the zone was just getting torched by Bonton and by Ellaby. So I don't know. Like I'm curious to see kind of how that goes down, and maybe FA can play in that high post spot a little bit. Maybe he can, put the ball on the deck.
How much man to man would you would you say it was like a junk thing that they threw out, for a few possessions, or?
So
because I agree, I remember them running it a few times. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't watch it that closely, but it seemed like it was more than just a handful of possessions. So yeah, I mean, it seemed like it was something they were using. Now, again, I don't know if that's they just felt like it for this matchup, because I didn't watch any of the Colorado game for them. So I don't know if they felt like maybe just Utah, they wanted to do it against Utah. I don't know if they, were just fed up with their zone. Honestly, I have no idea. They're always going to be a staple zone team, but obviously their zone stinks. And so, I don't know. Maybe it was a desperation move. Maybe they'll go with it a little more. I'm not. I'm honestly not sure. I just know that they did not just sit in their zone and get picked apart. They really did try to do some things man to man, and for at least more than a few possessions. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see some of that. I'm not sure either one of them scare me. So
we will say it is the worst offensive Pac-12 play facing the worst defense, and then interestingly enough, the ninth best offense in Pac-12 play versus the ninth best defense, WSU's defense versus Washington's offense. So quite a clash of the Titans we have in the Apple Cup of the hardwood.
That's
here.
Right. The Boeing Apple Cup series.
What you really hope is WSU can kind of get back to kind of shutting down the inside.
And they did that to a large degree tonight. That was something that I thought was real positive.
And in the first game against Colorado too, I think they played much. I think maybe that's coming back. You hope that Washington isn't shooting like Colorado. Again, it seems like Colorado, UCLA, USC. They just have so many players. You would expect the shooting percentages to be higher. UW has had a couple guys go off lately, and hopefully you can kind of stem that a little bit. And obviously you got to hope you can finally have a full roster of guys. Hopefully Bonton's feeling better. Hopefully Noah's feeling better. You get Rapp off the bench.
Yep.
You get that full guard rotation.
Yep.
I am
curious. I was going to say, I'm curious to see if maybe at some point they do change something up with the starting lineup. And particularly Yakimovsky. I know that I know Smith said this week that, hey, when he's on the floor, good things happen. And I obviously trust him. If that's, I trust him on that one. However, Yakimovsky is now 2 for his last 17 from 3, including 0 for his last 8. That's really bad. Really, 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 really bad. And then in that time, he's also only 3 of 7 on twos. So he's taken 7 twos, 17 threes, and he's not really hitting any of them.
And he's taking less and less shots. He only took 2 shots tonight.
That's the other thing. So he has gotten really passive. And so that to me is probably the greater concern. I have less of an issue with a guy, going cold and trying to shoot his way out of a slump. But he just doesn't. He's barely shooting. And honestly, when he does, remember, we sort of marveled at the shot early in the year, and we're like, oh, man, it just like every single one that comes off his fingers looks like money. Even when it's not good, it looks good, right? It doesn't look good right now. It looks forced. It looks out of rhythm. It looks off balance.
Yeah.
It's just all the things that it wasn't early in the year. And so to me, maybe bringing him off the bench lightens that up a little bit. Maybe you go something, maybe you put Rapp in and go with a 3-guard situation. Or maybe just go back with DJ Rodman. I'd be okay with that. He had a nice game tonight. Really didn't do anything offensively, but I think he's a stronger defensive player than Yakimovsky. At least in terms
and I
of
think
knowing his assignments and things like that. So I think that would be a fairly obvious little switch that might, I don't know, maybe that jumpstarts something just a little bit. Getting a guy with experience back in there, so I'd be okay.
And I think especially against UW, you're fine running Noah or DJ at the 3. Because that just defensively you're fine. I mean, offensively, whatever. But at this point, I don't think Yakumovsky, how again, word of the day, assertiveness. His lack of assertiveness is he's no more effective offensively than DJ is. Right. He's not going to shoot the ball.
Right.
And obviously, DJ's finishing at a better rate than him right now.
Yep.
And so if you want to get DJ in, have him play, have him match up against, I don't know who, the guard or Bay or Bajema or however you say his name. I think like UW's a team that they could go a little smaller and be fine. And plus DJ still is, his numbers aren't like great rebounding, but he's good at putting other people in a position to rebound or creating making a rebound more difficult for the other team so that they can be tipped and someone else can grab it. So I think he's actually contributes there more than his numbers show. But you got it, man. Yakumovsky probably, he's a freshman. Like, it's not like he's he needs probably something to shake things up. It's just not working for him right now, and it's been quite a long time, where he's had a lot more downs than ups lately. So it'd be great to see him just
you bring him off the bench and you're like, hey, just go shoot, man, just go shoot, give us something.
His last good game was his last decent game was against Stanford.
Yep.
And really since then he hasn't shot that much. And it's funny, the game where he actually hit a couple shots is where he just kept shooting against USC. So he hit 2 of 6 from 3. It's like, dude, just don't give up, man.
Yeah.
Like, although I will say, I've said many times, if he doesn't hit the first couple, like, it just seems like it's just not happening for him. Like and maybe he's got that same mindset. Like, if I don't hit that first one, I'm screwed.
Well, it seemed like, it wasn't that way early in the year. Like, he shot 9 threes against Portland State. Like, he just kept shooting. There were plenty of times this year where he just kept shooting. So I don't know. I don't know, man. It's, UW obviously prime, if they're running some zone, prime opportunity to shoot a bunch of threes. But like you, I'm more curious to see how many threes UW shoots against us, because we typically don't allow more than 20 3-point attempts. Yeah. It's usually more like 16, 17,
15,
18, somewhere in there. And UW right now is shooting like 25 to 30 threes a game. So that's going to be a real fascinating matchup. And by the way, I may want to recant my invitation for them to shoot, because they're now going on like 4 or 5 games in a row of 40% or better from 3.
Yeah.
It's been a while since they've had a bad one. So now I'm like, maybe not. Maybe I don't want them to shoot 33s. That might be bad. So I don't know. We'll see. It's, UW, I think, obviously more talented. I don't think anybody would argue with that. But they, I think they're extremely, 3-point shot dependent right now. If we can make that difficult on them, and get some interior defense that doesn't end up in foul trouble. Tonight was the first time in the 6-game losing streak we allowed less than 52% on twos. So hopefully that's moving in the right direction, and
yes,
and we'll get back to that 2-point defense that we know can be effective.
Yeah, what I'd love to see is allow kind of 45% on twos and shoot over 50% on twos. Like, if you can get that combo in this game, like, you're going to be doing well, as long as UW isn't hitting 50% of their threes. If UW hits 50% of threes, we're probably fucked. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But
both of our teams are due for regression. That's what I'm claiming.
Yeah.
Both of them.
But
they're due to get worse, and we're due to get better. So
please win, because we talked a lot of shit for a long time at the start of the season.
No kidding. It's so true. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I need a picture. I need a picture of Noah like posing at center court. Like I need this. So
yeah,
let's make this happen. Yeah,
we just need a win, man. Like it's been a while, and
any old kind of
again,
win.
like it's it doesn't get any easier going forward. It never does.
It does get a little easier.
I mean, you got Oregon's on the road.
You do, but most so with we got 10 games left, half at home, half on the road. We've played a bunch of road games lately. So yeah, the next.
It is easier, but it's not. You're not favored to win any of these games until Washington at home and Cal at home. That's So you got another stretch of 5 games where you're not favored again.
But UW, Oregon State, both should be toss-ups. I mean, you really need to win one of those, for sure, if not 2.
Win both, please.
Win both, please. That'd be great.
Well, especially if you want to finish this season above 500, got to win both of those ones.
Yep. So those are ones we'd like to have. Oregon, they're vulnerable. They're vulnerable. They just lost to Oregon State. So
I'm really pissed that we miss. Maybe it'll get rescheduled. Yeah, maybe it'll get rescheduled. But I'm really because even especially at that point in the season when WSU probably was feeling pretty good and playing pretty well, I think that's when they would have won, and just to not have that one is a real bummer. Just to not have that on the ledger. Also to not have that Arizona game, which they should have won. On the ledger is a real bummer. Because it'd be a lot nicer to have 4 wins in league play versus 2 right now. So so hopefully let's get that 3rd. Because I'm real tired of losing. It's kind of wearing on me. I invest way too much into this goddamn team. So.
Yeah, I'm with you. That'd be nice. Beating Washington will feel real good for us, and then also, satiate a lot of our casual fans that checked out maybe after the 20-0 run tonight and missed out on all the good stuff that happened after that.
Hey, last time we played at UW, I was there right before COVID shutdowns hit, and that was a lot of fun to win at UW. Of course, we don't have CJ Ellaby this time, but hopefully we can still beat them anyway.
Yep.
But let's. We don't really do predictions for the game, largely because I don't really feel comfortable fully on predicting some of these games. Because man, I don't fully know what to expect out of us anymore. I thought we were something, and now I'm not 100% sure what we are. I'm hoping we're getting back to what I thought we were. I'm really hoping that we're moving back that direction, because that would be a great way to finish the season. But I really hope. I'm not predicting a win against UW, but it wouldn't surprise me, and I would really hoping for it, of course.
Yes, please.
All right, let's take a break, and we will talk about that women's game. Well, we got a couple of women's games to talk about, but particularly that one tonight, and then we'll talk about some football recruiting news as well.
And we're back.
All right, so I know you're not drinking. You're still not drinking. It's still January, right? You're still not drinking.
It is still January. Yep.
All right. Well, I am drinking a beer.
But by this time, next episode will be February. So
yes. Well, you have to. One of us has to. We got to do an exchange in the next week.
I will definitely do that.
All right. I got a few for you, man. I've been saving. They're all gonna be old now, but
my man.
Whatever. I always get. It's always never one beer.
I know. It's always like, hey, I got something.
It's always never. Cool. It's that.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Hey, English teacher, come on.
It's all good.
Am I allowed to say always never?
You can say
always never.
You can say whatever you want. I do not sit in judgment.
All right. So
everybody thinks I'm judging them all the time, though. Sorry. Go ahead.
So are you going to ask me what I'm drinking, Jeff? Or
what are you drinking, Craig?
Oh, thank you for asking, Jeff. That's so nice of you. I am drinking a beer from New Anthem Brewery, which is out of Wilmington, North Carolina. So the reason I almost always order these come up on the Tavar app, and I'm just gonna throw it out there real quick. Tavar is a fun kind of beer service where you can get beers, and they're not paying me to do this, but I just want to share my code. And so if you use the code, you get money off of what you order, and then I also get money. Let's see. I don't even know. I don't even know how to find my code. I'll figure it out. Here we go. But anyway, so my referral link is 26712. So if you put in that code if you sign up for a Tavar account, you can get $20 beer credit towards your first order. So you order like monthly for a box, but like it's like a beer of the month and whatever. So 26712, you can use that. It's really cool. I get a lot of nice beer. Like their beer selection has been incredible lately. They do not pay me for this, but I would like free beer because I get $20 too if you do that. So whatever. So one of the ones, they've been having this New Anthem Brewery. They're out of Wilmington, North Carolina. The reason I always order, because I have a very good friend that lives in North Carolina, and I visited her in Wilmington a couple times. And honestly, they didn't have very many breweries when I visited her because it's been quite a few years since I've done that. But now apparently they have a really good, nice beer scene. North Carolina itself has a lot of nice little pockets of beer scenes. Asheville, North Carolina is a great beer town. Raleigh, Raleigh and the rest of the Research Triangle, a lot of great breweries, a lot of good beer bars. They have a real good beer culture there. But Wilmington didn't really, but Wilmington, North Carolina has popped up. There's a lot of new breweries there. So I've had this New Anthem Brewery pop up on this Tavar app a few times, and they make some good beer. And this because I have that connection with my friend, so I always like to send her a pic, like, look what I'm drinking. It's from where you are. But this beer is called The Path I Fear, which is, of course, the basketball schedule that we're currently facing right now. Bring me back to Montana State, please. New Anthem Path I Fear. It is a beer. I can barely read it. It's like incredible. Like I'm getting old, but it's really cool, like shiny. Like it's got like black with like silver lettering. But it's with Burundi Gakakwe coffee. I don't know. From some local roaster from there. I think Burundi, it might be the roaster. And then it has Tahitian and bourbon vanilla beans and a load of cocoa nibs. So it's a pastry stout, not bourbon barrel aged, but it does kind of have a little bit of the bourbon characteristics from those vanilla beans. I think the vanilla beans are definitely dominant. I was really wanting something kind of sweet because I hadn't had dessert tonight. Not that I always eat dessert, but lately I have always eaten dessert. But I really want something sweet while we recorded tonight. And it's not like super, super thick, but it's got a good thickness to it and a lot of very strong bourbon characteristic, and definitely the coffee. It's some good coffee. You can actually, it's funny, I have had like coffee in a beer and then went out and tried, and I'm not a huge coffee drinker, but I really like a good cup of coffee. Like I'll get excited about that when one actually tastes good. Like we have Valhalla coffee down the street from us, and I don't always like we just have that for our regular drip coffee, and it's delicious, and it's like 1,000 times better than like the Starbucks you get from the grocery store or whatever. And then if you go get a coffee from them, it's like 1,000 times better than that, and plus they're so close, like you can smell when they're roasting. It's amazing. But I've gotten, like, when you taste a good coffee in a beer, like when a coffee tastes so good in a beer, it's like going to be good. And so I've actually went and got coffee before just because I've had it in a beer, which is funny. But yeah, this one has coffee, nice notes, vanilla. I think it's all well. Like I get worried about like a 12% stout that's not barreled because they can kind of be over the top. But this one's dialed in really well. Really enjoy it. Way to go, Wilmington, North Carolina, where I enjoy Wilmington a lot because they have nice beaches there. and it's a cool little town. Town. It's like 100,000+ people. It's not a little town. You can go on the Dawson's Creek tour there because they filmed Dawson's Creek there, which I know a lot of our listeners are huge Dawson's Creek fans.
Sure.
One of the biggest memories I have of being in Wilmington, I was in Wilmington during the 2014 World Cup when WSU was playing Portugal, or WSU podcast in my head, when the U.S. was playing Portugal, and Portugal got that tying goal at the very end. But I remember we were watching that in a bar, and and there was enough people watching that were like into it, and it was fun. But then it was just like that feeling of when U.S. gave up a goal right at the end. Like I remember Bradley could have just kicked the goddamn ball to the corner, and I know the U.S. advanced anyway, but it would have been really cool to beat Cristiano Ronaldo. That would have been nice, but they didn't. But anyway, so that's like my biggest memory of Wilmington is being in some bar watching the U.S. blow a win in the World Cup. But
yeah.
But other than that, like I hope I go back someday, and I'm going to make my friend take me to New Anthem Brewing because it's very delicious.
Someday.
Anyways, So
Maybe.
that's the beer. That's the beer today. Women's hoops. Man, Stanford is Stanford. What can you say?
It's kind of been that way for a while during all of this. Like they hit that top 25, and then it's just relentless in the Pac-12, being capped right now by playing.
Stanford twice
by playing. One of the team that was number one in the the consensus number one team.
I have no idea how they lost those.
Me
two games.
either.
Like, they must have just been checked out.
Yeah, I mean they had
because they lost to Colorado, who WSU. I watched that game. WSU had no trouble with Colorado, and then when I saw that Colorado beat them, I'm like, how did Colorado beat?
Yeah,
like Colorado's like one. Like as you see with a lot of these Pac-12, like the kind of mid-tier Pac-12 teams, they have like one really good player, and then like a bunch of like Oregon State has one very very good player, and then not so much, and then. And that's probably why we've been able to beat them twice. Although that game was a hell of a game.
That one very good player was very awesome in that game.
So that the Oregon game was tough. That was one they led early. It was kind of the reverse of the recent games they had. They led early and then they let it slip. But it was exactly what happened when they played Oregon at home. They got up early and then they just got away from them. And they just really couldn't score much in the second half. They had a real tough time scoring. And Oregon's very talented, even without Sabrina anymore. But they still got a lot of players on that team. That was a tough loss. And then Oregon State, you're just feeling like they needed that win so much.
Yeah.
And they couldn't have made it any more stressful. Like It was just.
Nope. I think I texted you. I was like, "This game is giving me an ulcer." Like
I know. I was standing up in my living room for just a lot of time on a Sunday morning, just like it was like watch. I don't know. I would never stand up for a Seahawks game. But I was just standing up and just like pacing in my living room, like this is just too much. They really need this win. You got Stanford coming twice, coming at you twice. Yep. You don't get to play Cal. Like they just don't like. I keep looking at the schedule. I'm like, they just need to at this point. They just need to rack up some wins and they'll go to the tournament. That's it. Like they just need to get that win ledger up to a nice point. I think they have enough on the schedule to where they just need to tally some wins and they'll be in the tournament. And they're not getting Cal twice. Even Cal sucks. They're like one of like an awful team, but they're not getting them twice. Those will be guaranteed wins, and they're not getting those on the ledger. And now I'm stressing or watching Stanford. So that Oregon State game, it's like you got to get this one. You need it. It took Sherilyn Molina really stepped up in the overtimes, just two huge threes in the first overtime, plus just a lot of hustle plays, drew a bunch of fouls that when they just couldn't find a way to score, they just kept scoring. Bella once again fouled out in a crucial time on a stupid away from the ball foul. I'm so tired of this crap. Like, do you really need to call that? You know that player's on 4 fouls. I know the refs know this stuff. Like, do you have to call this away from the ball, like touch, that you let go 90% of the time? Like, it's nonsense. But they were able to get enough at the end. Real nice, worked out. Sherilyn Molina actually missed one of the free throws that would have given them the lead, but instead WSU got the rebound, and Charlize Ledger-Walker, cool as a cucumber, as they say, dribbles in and hits a 15-footer. And then they had to make what was it, like 3 stops on the last stretch just to survive that one. But man, that was a stressful game, dude. That was as stressful as they come.
I'm just glad they won it.
I know. I'm so glad. I thought for sure. Well, I can't. I'm sorry. The Oregon State stud, star. She was just like. I thought for sure she was going to hit that 3 in the first overtime to beat them. And first, I can't believe they had the final possession, and she had been murdering them on the pick and roll, and they didn't run it. I was like, what are you doing? They ran a ball screen when it was like 3, when they got a reset at like 5 seconds left, but they had it with 20 seconds left, and they didn't run a ball screen. I'm like, she's been going at the rim relentlessly. Maybe they thought they couldn't get the foul call because it was the end of the game or something. I don't know. But yeah, she missed that 3. I thought for sure it was down. But then they pulled it out in the second overtime, and she, they forced her into a tough shot at the end. And good stuff. But then tonight, Stanford just came out, just wouldn't let Charlize do anything. That's really what they're like. Nope. She took 5 shots.
Yeah, didn't score in double digits, first time all year.
I mean, she only took 5 shots. If she did, that would have been really impressive.
This game looked like every other Stanford game for the last 40 years.
I will say the one difference was they were able to make that run in the second half and
no
pull
doubt.
with.
So maybe I should just say the first half looked like every other Stanford game for the last 40 years.
It absolutely
just completely outclassed, athletically, tactically. It was just. I think there's some, one of the things about this team that I think has sort of endeared them to me, is the fearlessness, right? I mean, they're similar to Kyle Smith's team in that fashion. They don't back down. They keep fighting. They keep scrapping. They aren't maybe the, kind of keep saying this, they're not maybe the most talented team in the world. But they do have, 2 really good players, and they just battle their asses off, on defense, on offense, for offensive rebounds. They just fight and scrap and claw. Well, at the beginning of I think over the years with Stanford, it's been a little bit of, and I'm certainly no, women's basketball historian with WSU. There's only, as I mentioned before, there's only so many minutes in my day for watching sports, but the times that I've kind of looked in and checked in, they remind me of, what used to happen to the men's team when we'd play Arizona when Lute Olson was the coach. It was just you'd play them and you felt like maybe you had a chance, but their entire roster is full of future pros, and you're just and then not only that, there was just this aura about them, especially when Lute was the coach. It was just it just felt like you were toast before you even got on the floor. I feel like our women's team, when they've played Stanford over the years, it's been kind of a lot like that. They're just sort of beat before they even get on the floor. And the fact that they were able to, claw back a little bit, show some fight, do some positive things. I think those are good. And the interesting thing is they're going to turn around and play Stanford again at home in a couple days. So, maybe, I guess we're going to find out if the second half was just Stanford screwing around, or if maybe they figured something out.
Well, I mean, they got to figure out a way to get Charlize more shots. I mean, even like Crystal took 12 shots, 1 of 6 from 3. She's been shooting like 45% from 3. That's rough. So they really like. I saw players, particularly Jones and Levy, who I have not seen even play that much this year.
Yeah,
taking a ton of shots in the first half. Because Stanford was just giving those shots to them, and they were giving a shot. I feel like every single commentator pronounces her name differently, but Tadair, I've heard Tudair, I've had Todair. Like I don't know
pretty
exactly.
Pretty sure Tadair is.
She's a very good 3-point shooter. She struggled in the first half, came back in second half, and that was part of their run. Where they took the lead that at one point was 41-11 and cut it down to 13 in the third quarter and then again in the fourth quarter. She finally was hitting some shots because they were giving her, like she took 10 threes. Like they were giving her the shots, like they were going to let her shoot. Like they were going to let Jones and Levy and Clark, like these people that don't shoot shots very often, they were going to let them shoot. They had the size inside to neutralize Bella. Like she had a rough game, and defensively and offensively just had a really rough game. That was, she's just kind of all alone down there because they kind of play a smaller lineup overall. Because Tadair kind of plays the 4, but she's definitely like more of a guard, I'd say. But Matuga definitely plays inside, but she doesn't have the height and the athleticism of some of these Stanford bigs. Like she's just like they were just so talented.
Very few people do. Like that's.
I mean, yeah, like you'd see. I mean, they had wings that were as big as Bella. It was. I still can't believe they've lost twice. Like it's crazy to me. But yeah, so if WSU is to come back and shock the world in the second game this weekend, Charlize needs more than 5 shots. That's for sure. I will say, like, she is still such a baller. Like, she had 3 she knew she wasn't getting the ball. They were denying the ball from her. She had 3 offensive rebounds. She had 2 steals. She was finding her way into it, but really, like, when a team's selling out, and they really sold out hard to deny Crystal in the first half too. She found more shots in the second half, but she shot some tough threes. That's probably part of why she went 1 of 6. She was kind of rushing just to get some shots up. So hopefully, and I will say Matuga had a nice game given, that, how tough that front line of Stanford is, because she did have 10 and 10. Really kind of scored at times when WSU could not find anything. But, so, I don't know. Yeah, like you said, man, they played really well. Like, they beat Stanford in the second half, and they played a lot better on both ends of the floor. So hopefully, we watch in the, in the NBA and WNBA, like, where they have, like, long playoff series, like the clearly better team still loses, like, quite often. There aren't a ton of sweeps. So, hey, it's the 69th, maybe the 69th time is the nice one for WSU. That would be great because you definitely just like rubber stamp that ticket to the NCAA tournament if they can get that one.
Yep. I mean, you get that signature win, or that would certainly be, a signature win. It's just you watch Stanford and they just, they're just different. I don't really know a better way to say that. Like they just,
it's very different. Like I definitely saw so when you watch like UCLA and USC and Oregon, they had some players that clearly were kind of a different level of athlete than what WSU
but
has.
not like 5.
But not
or
5
6,
of them. Yeah,
or
Stanford,
7
it was
them.
like, Stanford, it was every single player is just a monster. Like, it's just like, future WNBA or
you watch them move,
player.
you watch them shoot, it's a different kind of, it's just a different kind of player. So, it's, they got a shot. Why not? You know, I mean, everybody's got a shot. I mean, heck, if you know, they've lost twice. You know, why not? Why not again? So,
by the way, what do you think? What do you think Tara Vanderveer's salary is?
Oh,
what would be your guess?
What would I guess?
Yeah.
$3 million.
Oh man. So I don't know if this is true. This can't be true.
Well, here's the thing: Stanford's a private institution. They're not.
So
yeah.
So in 2015, the SF Gate reported 155,000, which Cammie Etheridge's salary is 400,000. So I just can't believe that Tara Vanderveer is making 155,000.
There's no way. No way.
Because like Stanford like pulls in people for their basketball games. Like it's not like it's a revenue sport there. It's not. You know, like they're not playing in front of empty crowds. Like, well, obviously they are now. Well, they're not even playing at home right now. But I think they're going to be able to start playing at home. But yeah, so I hope that's not true. Because Stanford can pay them whatever she wants.
Okay,
you know?
Hold on. October 2017.
Okay, here's 2017 3-year extension.
But does it have numbers?
No, they don't have to say. Well, I don't know why they wouldn't
have
though.
To say.
It's funny how they don't have to say and then they just don't.
Yep.
Like we're just not going to say.
Yep. And it doesn't say.
Like just as like, yeah.
I don't know.
I would think you're probably right though. Like
maybe
it's got to be a
I don't
couple.
Know. I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe
I don't know what that
where
that 155,000 came from. That would be nuts. Like because she is just incredibly
one of the best that's ever done
coach. I mean, who else has shut down Charlize Ledger Walker? I mean, obviously the players she has is part of it, but she also recruited those players.
That's right. Stanford to the Hall of Fame. She shut down Charlize.
Yeah, exactly. She shut down the 5-time Pac-12 Freshman of the Week.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're laughing for
how many people have done that?
Yeah.
Probably nobody.
There's a different reason why we're laughing right there, but we won't say it. But I don't think it's probably going to be tough for Charlize to get that sixth one unless she goes off this weekend and they beat Stanford. Then it'll probably be automatic. Even like then, if she scores like 25 points and they beat Stanford, they'll probably be like WC's never beaten Stanford. So, but I will say like. You know, it feels like if we're ever going to beat Stanford, these 2 games like got to be it. But you know, all these players are coming back next year. You know, I imagine Crystal's going to come back because she can, and so maybe we'll just be that much better and be just good enough to get Stanford next year. Maybe they'll do it this weekend. I don't know if ever it's going to happen. Like, it just seems like with Charlize Ledger Walker on the team, like, come on, it's got to happen now. Like, Jesus. All right. So, yeah, that was it was a real bummer when they came out and just, it was 8-0 real quick. And then you're like, okay, they've fallen behind. They can come, and they did. They got to like 9-6 or whatever. And you're like, okay, they can withstand this. And then nothing for a solid 15 minutes. And Stanford just took over, and you're like, damn it, not again.
I didn't watch it that close because I am admittedly terrible at watching 2 games at the same time. Like some people can do that. They can put up, like 4 games and keep an eye on
what I did.
I just cannot. So
when Colorado went on that 20-0 run, I started watching the women's game, and then when Stanford went on that huge run, I just switched back to the men's game.
Well,
so I was trying to watch them, but and of course, like when there's a timeout in one, they lined up pretty well because like the cadence of them is different, and plus they were started half an hour later. Although the women's game started about 6:35 and was over like at 8:10.
Yeah, like, that was weird.
Incredibly fast.
Yeah,
I don't know if they have less TV timeouts because they just do. Well, they do the quarter timeout, and they do. So they still have 4 timeouts. No, they just have 3 timeouts. Because they do 5-minute, quarter, 5-minute. So they only have 3 official TV timeouts versus 4 in the men's, where they do 16, 12, 8, and 4. So maybe that impacts it. That must impact it, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
I definitely like I'm wholly on board with the men adopting the quarters as well. I like watching it. Like, I just feel so much more natural, like, watching a game with quarters. It's like, college basketball is the only level of basketball. Men's college basketball is the only level that does this weird 20-minute half. Like, come on, just split them up, do quarters.
Yeah.
That's how it's meant to be.
Everybody else on the planet does that at every level.
At every level.
High school, pros, international ball, like it's all quarters, man. So
like second graders.
Yes.
Like it's
Yep. So yeah, they should do it. I want to say they experimented with it in the NIT.
Yes.
But I think COVID sort of like threw all that stuff out the window. All that stuff that they pilot in the NIT to kind of get a sense of whether they want to do it. I don't
it was
think
2018. I know in 2018 they did. I don't know if
I don't think they
did
made
in
any changes. I don't think they made any changes because of what happened last year. So
yeah. Well, they did a shorter. Okay, so the NIT, like the shorter shot clock after offensive rebounds came from the NIT.
Yep.
So there's interesting. They had a rule that made team fouls reset after 10-minute stretches. That's also a thing that I like about the quarters is the team fouls resetting after 10 minutes. Because now, if you have like the first 10 minutes is like a foul fest, you're screwed for the next 10 minutes, which is what happened to WSU against Colorado in the second half today. They fouled a bunch in the first 10 minutes. Second 10 minutes, Colorado on a rebound foul on the other end was getting 2 shots, or 1-and-1 with their 85% fucking free throw shooters on the other end. Like it was incredibly frustrating. But it's nice they reset like every other basketball level. Or no, actually in high school it is the fouls carry over for the whole half.
Yes, that is true.
That's right. Yeah. But in women's college basketball the fouls do not carry over. I'm actually not 100% sure at what foul the bonus is. Like apparently I haven't been paying that much attention. I haven't figured that out yet. I think it's the 4th. I'm not sure though. But yeah, so I would love to see them adopt that. But anyways, let's wrap this up with a little bit of first go beat Stanford and then go beat UCLA too.
Yeah.
Go do all that. That'd be great.
That would be great.
But given those 2 games coming up and then USC on the back end, they definitely got to get that USC game.
Yeah.
But actually, they're going to have to start getting wins because they're perilously close to 500 at this point.
Yep.
So
beating UCLA at home that'd be nice.
Yeah, honestly, if you can't beat Stanford, fine, but get that LA weekend. You need retribution. You need to get retribution for those 2 OT losses.
I agree.
Anyway. All right. So, but we'll talk about that next week. All right. So, segue, whatever. We got a 20-year-old recruit coming in, from who originally committed to Boise State. Then he went on a Mormon mission, and is now coming back and decided he didn't want to go to Boise State because they have a different coach, and was recruited by Nick Rolovich when he was at Hawaii. So he has decided to come to WSU. His name's Lolani Langi, and he's a linebacker, and he's from Utah. South Jordan, where a lot of I swear like half of Utah's defense is always from South Jordan, Utah. I don't know what this place is.
Must
like
be
a
a
football
hotbed.
factory of South Jordan, Utah. Maybe there was just like one prominent player from South Jordan. I just have that stuck in my head. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, 6'2", 220, good size to start out with at a linebacker. I don't know what he is as a 20-year-old, who's been on a mission for 2 years. So who knows what shape he's in. I'm sure he kept in shape. I'm sure those guys are used to staying in shape on those missions. But
lots of walking.
Yeah.
Lots of biking.
Yeah, there is a lot of biking and walking. I don't think that
Probably
keeps
not
you in football shape.
Probably not a lot of lifting.
Hopefully he found. I'm sure that he would find some time to go to obviously not the last year, but maybe he had a home gym. I don't know. But yeah, so 6'2", 220, at least his measurables when he was 18, which are good. to start out with. That would make him one of our bigger linebackers just right off the bat. Do you think he's going to end up at linebacker? Or?
Seems like it.
Yeah.
He seems like a linebacker guy and not a rush end or whatever they call him, edge or rush or whatever they call him now. I don't know. I get confused, but yeah, he seems like
depends on the coach.
Yeah. And it seems like there's been an emphasis on linebackers, which maybe tells you something about the current state of our linebackers. We brought in a transfer from TCU, who's a linebacker, and there were definitely linebackers in the class. We also tried to at one point we had a JUCO linebacker committed. Now he decommitted, but also has not committed to or signed with anybody else, which is usually a pretty good sign that was an academic issue. With that guy. But anyway, it seems pretty clear they're trying to upgrade at linebacker, so I don't know if this kid is going to be ready to contribute right away. I tend to doubt that. Football shape is probably a little bit different, and he's not he's not enrolling early or anything like that, I think. So, given that second semester has already started. So he's, he'll be coming in the summer to play in the fall, and it's kind of tough to imagine a guy like that being ready to contribute right away. But I guess you never know. And linebacker is definitely a spot where they got to get better. Particularly in the middle. I think everybody felt pretty good about Jahad Woods and the things that he did.
Yeah.
But he certainly wasn't perfect either. I mean, he got benched at one point for part of a game, it seemed. I don't know that anybody ever said that he was, but it certainly looked that way. But he seems to thrive in a situation when he's got, a real steady tackling machine next to him, like he did when he was playing next to Peyton Pallure. So, maybe Ben Wilson will be that guy. He's the TCU transfer who's originally from Lake Tapps, went to Sumner High School near, my neck of the woods down here.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. I think the thing that I like what they're doing, we sort of speculated when they, took 18 or 19 guys on the early signing day, that maybe they would try to use those last, 5-6 spots to bring in some older guys who would be immediately eligible to play. And sure enough, they seem to have done that. They brought in a few transfers, so you got the quarterback Guarantano, you got Wilson the linebacker, you got Jackson the DB, all potentially areas of need. Again, I think everybody's pretty high on Delora, but I think we all can agree that quarterback play could have been a lot better last year too. So in those 4 games, so I like the fact that they seem to be kind of looking for areas and looking for places where they can add value right away, and maybe not, dole out all those scholarships strictly to freshmen who maybe not are maybe not gonna pay off for a few years. Transfers in football tend not to pay off as largely and as quickly as they do maybe in, say, basketball, but this year might be different too.
Except for Gardner Minshew.
Except for Gardner Minshew, yes, that is true.
Jerome Harrison, of course.
Grad transfers a lot of times pay off, but the only grad transfer here is Guarantano. So who knows? Maybe we get lightning in a bottle there again. But I like the idea of in this environment, players being able to move and not have to sit out a year. And maybe this should be a lesson to the NCAA too. They're offering transfers and people don't have to sit out a year, and it's not like it's been mass exoduses from programs, so maybe we can do away with the notion that people need to sit out a year in order to prevent them from transferring. Just let them play. Everybody ends up happier, to be honest. Players are happier. And everybody wins. So let's just make this permanent.
Yeah. Hopefully they find out it's fine and just stop it with it's the coaches that fret more about this.
Oh, for sure.
Like
they panic. Oh my God, we're gonna lose a guy. We trained him, we fed him, we got him in the weight room, and now he's leaving. And it's just like, whatever, man. These are all guys that are looking for playing time. Like they're not pouting, they're not whatever. They're just like, they're not playing. Try to find a spot, try to go someplace that wants you. That's
hey, if you're doing manager mode on FIFA, you get players that bitch about that all the time. They're like, hey, send me somewhere else, man, so I can play.
Put me out on loan or something. That's what we really need in college football. We need loans.
God, just make them even more of a property than
Alabama. We need Alabama to loan us a guy. Like USC's got 18 wide receivers. Maybe they'll loan us one or two.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Alabama can loan their maybe they can have something where the loan year doesn't count for eligibility at your school.
You can redshirt during your loan year.
So anyone who doesn't follow soccer, that loans are typically you can give a guy, or you don't get you let a guy play and you might get a fee in return, or they'll pay most of his salary or something. And they do it a lot with young guys, and when there's no room on your roster for them to play, but you can go have them play on another team, and so they can develop. And develop instead of just sit on the bench for the whole season. So yeah, I'm fully on board for this for college football. Alabama can send us their 5-star recruits who aren't going to play for a year, and they'll just come play with us. But of course, Nick Saban would be like, hell no, they're not gonna develop under my guys. Of course, maybe it'd end up every former Saban assistant ends up with just these stud freshmen these stud players everywhere, because they're just playing for their team for 1 year. Yeah. Of course, they all. I don't think he's going to give anybody to Kirby or anything, but yeah, it's. So I have to come back. So the reason that South Jordan, Utah was in my head is because Starlo Tulele went to South Jordan, Utah, as well as, although that's why, but Dalton Schultz also went to South Jordan, Utah. Who has played in the NFL, and so has Harvey Lange. So they've actually had 3 or 4 players in the last 20 years that have played in the NFL. But I'm pretty sure it was Starlo Tulele is why I had South Jordan, Utah. I'm like, oh, why is that such a place in my mind? Because I was thinking giant dude from South Jordan, Utah, and that is Starlo Tulele. So. Yeah, I like what they're doing with this the end of the recruiting class here. I like what they're doing a lot.
Yep.
If we're going to be more competitive next year, it's very clear that we needed some guys that can come in and play right away and be better, because what we saw, didn't necessarily scream bowl team in a full season. So, and I would love to, have a team that is on that winning side again. So yeah, I think we're good. I think that's good, man. What do you think?
I think that's good.
All right. Well, if you like what you hear, or even if you kind of only a little bit like it and you just like to waste time, listen to people babble about the Cougs, please give us a subscribe and rate us 5 stars. We love the 5-star reviews, but I will say, some of you that really hate us, man, that's a thing. I feel like as someone who just always hates when people hate me, it's really rough to see those. So if you're gonna say something mean, just still give us a 5-star review. That's all I'm gonna say. I would love that. Because we aren't. You guys can go read the reviews; they're hilarious. But anyways,
there's a few of them that are pretty funny.
Yeah, they're pretty funny.
People that do not appreciate our podcast.
Or maybe they do not appreciate that we say Black Lives Matter at the end.
Yeah, it could be that too.
Yeah. But yeah, if you want to leave a good 5-star review, I'll probably start reading them. I'll start reading them, and I'll give you credit for them, even if it's not your real name. You can send us email at podcastvseveryone@gmail.com. Oh, Jeff. Okay, sorry. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to make you stay up a little later. We got to talk about the uniforms. So we had Mark wanted us to talk about the uniforms. So he said, and I meant to do this last week. He gave us a BLM as well. So he says they're a bit plain, but I like that they don't repeat combinations in a season while mixing and matching helmet elements like the logo and face mask colors. Do you have a favorite football combination or wish list uniform wise? Or do you fall in with the I don't care what they're wearing as long as they win crowd?
I'm not the biggest fan of our current uniform setup. I tend not to like simple unless they've always been simple, I guess.
Yeah, like if you're Penn State or
now that's
Indiana basketball.
Yes.
Or whatever.
Now that said, like I don't know. Like we tend to not get the greatest designs when people do stuff. So
yeah, I think we're on the end of the list.
Yes. So I guess, in lieu of like I think the simple uniforms we have now are better than the ones we had before. Particularly with all the mixing and matching we do. I think that's kind of part of it too, but but I wouldn't hate seeing something a little more bold, a little more, I think the number font helps, doing the kind of the specialized number font. One thing I would like to see, man, we should be putting our damn logo like in 14 different places on that uniform. Like it should be like, so I think Brian Anderson, so one of our writers, Brian Anderson, kind of put it this way, like when you see Clemson, like that paw is like, it's on the helmet, it's on the shoulder pads, it's on their hips,
absolutely,
like it's everywhere.
I will say, I love that the women's team has the jersey that is just the Cougar head instead of like Washington State.
Yes.
Which like, I think like Sherwood pointed out to it, like it's too many letters to put on a uniform. But yeah.
So I'm all in on figuring out, creative ways to just prominently feature the logo and different places to put it and, things like that. I'm okay with that. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe place it more prominently on the front of the jersey or something, like maybe make the front number smaller and then like a larger, I don't know, but
I also want Wazoo on like the back of the helmet or or that top part just somewhere.
Yes.
Or just put Wazoo on the jersey.
Or just put it on the front of the
I definitely
jersey.
want Wazoo on the basketball jerseys for sure.
Yes.
Put Wazoo on the basketball jerseys.
So I'd be okay if they got a facelift at some point, but they're fine. Like they're attractive, they're sharp. They're
sharp.
I don't hate them. It's just like if I'm like, hey, if you had your druthers, what would you do? And I'm like, yeah, I'd rather have like a cool design and like
something that like
something modern.
that they're Washington State.
Yeah,
and I think that was their goal. That was their goal. I think that's something that Bill Moose said at one point. You want to know that it's Washington State when you turn on TV. I don't think our unis, unless like I don't think any of our current uniforms do that. I don't think
not even
you're like, oh, that's Washington State.
No,
and that's where the logo comes in. I think if you have the logo everywhere.
Yep.
I'll say so. He asked for Luke asked for. Wait. So we also had Luke commented. I will say Luke agreed with your comments that the Michigan State neon uniform was terrible,
horrendous.
So there you go. He really hates the. It's funny. These two didn't. But we did mention that I wanted to talk about uniforms, so that's probably what spurred him. But he doesn't like the combo grays, which I think we've went away from a little bit since I know we did the combo grays with the last jerseys, but I guess they have light gray pants that they've put out, so they have done the like
I don't think they have I don't think they have a light gray top anymore, though.
I would agree with that. I don't really. I know there's some people that really like when they do that, but like with the dark gray top and then the light gray pants and like the silver or the light gray helmet.
Barf.
But I don't really like. I don't like the way that looks. I do like. So what Mark asked about is what are your favorite combos? I really like when they've done that white Coug logo, anthracite helmet, and then the white. It was the white helmet with the anthracite logo, with the anthracite jersey and the white pants, and there was just the one crimson Coug logo on the pants, and then the players would wear crimson kind of accent stuff. I think that looked awesome. I think we did it against Utah or Nevada in like 2017 or something. I thought that looked incredible. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I love the way that looked. I think it was a really cool like usage of our color scheme. I think one that sucks that we like can't use that much because like bad stuff always happens is the white helmet, crimson logo, crimson shirt and white pants. That looks really good, but something bad always happens. Someone gets injured or something terrible every time we wear that, so it's like cursed. But it looks great. I think it looks awesome. It's funny, in this current setup, I don't think they hit the classic combo that well. Like it doesn't look like I don't even know if it's classic. There's probably like no like it's only very recently the classic one, like the gray helmet, gray pants. I don't think that one looks that great. I do like the all anthracite, but the UCLA game ruined it. It sucks, but it did.
Yeah.
But there's two great memories with all anthracite, so I just have to stop being a little bitch about it. But
the one
but
thing
man, that all anthracite one hurts.
I was gonna say the one thing I really don't like is when we have a crimson logo on the helmet with no crimson anywhere else. So like what I think we had a game this year where we went anthracite helmet with a crimson logo on the helmet, and then anthracite tops, but the numbers on the anthracite tops are white. And so like the logo and the numbers not being the
kind
same
of out
color
of place,
seems weird. At least it's not so bad if you got a crimson logo and a crimson top or
white.
Something, or crimson pants.
With
you got
white numbers.
Somewhere for it to kind of match, but like I don't know.
I agree with that.
I'm kind of weird about that one.
I do. I like that. Well, either So it's fine. One more email from Dave just asked when we're gonna do a podcast again. He wants to talk about football, the QB situation 2021. We'll do that next week, Dave. Jeff, something he brings up, and I presume some kind of celebratory song that Larry Scott will be elsewhere in July. I totally fucking forgot about that.
Oh, yeah.
I totally forgot.
I know. Michael did a whole show on it. If you wanna listen to that, you can go listen to Michael's.
With Brian,
you can
that's
listen to the
great.
Coug Center Hour. Him and Floyd.
I'm surprised that we forgot about that.
That's old news at this point, right?
I know, yeah. We were just talking about hoops.
Because that broke like right after we recorded last week's show.
In summary, yes. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Na, hey, hit the road, Jack. All of it. All the songs. Just take your fucking fancy, but not even that fancy, but expensive downtown San Francisco office the fuck out of here. Like, just take your big ass salary that wasn't worth even a penny of it. Like, take your bad ideas, just get out of here. We need something new. But yeah, that's keeping it short, but
yep.
So I hope you stuck around till the end, Dave.
I hope
since
so,
you were
too.
begging for a new podcast, then you must have So I'm sorry it took us so long. I think we were kind of long in between. I didn't realize that. We mostly just kind of were waiting for these two weird Wednesday games to play. We figured we'd just record after them and make it easier for ourselves. Really not for you, for us.
Yeah.
That's all we care about is us, honestly.
Yeah. Well, and
We're
if we
very
had wins
selfish people.
to talk about, we might, be a little more excited about that. But
yeah, if it was like some 4-0 hoops weekends, we'd probably be on Sunday afternoon. Would be like, yeah, let's go. But it's not as much fun to talk about bad things. So beat fucking UW, and I don't know, beat Stanford. That'd be great.
That would be.
We'll probably record right away if that shit happens.
Probably will.
Yeah. All right. So plugs are done. Email done. We're getting emails now. Email more. Obviously, we're going to read them online or on here, and stick around to the end. You'll hear it. Subscribe, rate, and go Cougs.
Go Cougs. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.